Good morning, everyone. This is Biz Chicks TV. This is a place where you can find tips and tools to help you do business better. We're here to help you run a profitable business that's fun to run and to take the hassle out of your hustle. And as you know, on Fridays, it's Tech Life Weekly with the Tech Divas. Our co host, Miss Francine Gregory, is joining us mobile and we are so excited. Look, I see her. Let me see if I can add her to the stream. Hey, Fran, how you doing this morning? It's so good to have you in the house. She is on her way to one of our famous shoots today, and so she's going to be joining us via Uber. But today, I just want to get started with this week in tech history. Oh, she's in a Lyft. Oh, look at that. That's unusual. No, Lyft and Uber. Okay. All right. All righty, dighty. Well, we're going to get started, Fran, with this day in tech history. This week, pardon me. Let me go over here. We use the website This Day in Tech History, and we just want to give them credit to let you know where we get our articles from. We're going to start with January 10th, 2006. Apple ships its first Intel computer. 7 months after announcing that Macintosh computers will transition from PC to Intel, the first Apple computer to ship with Intel processors are released. I like that because my brother used to work for Intel. He's retired, so I can say that now. Yes. Moon rocket is announced on January 10th, 1962. Fran probably wasn't even born, but anyway, 1962. I was sitting around, I think, in first or second grade, watching these moon launches. NASA announces plans to build the C5 rocket booster. It became better known as the Saturn V moon rocket, which launched every Apollo moon mission. Wow. Oh, first radar contact with the moon was on January 10th, 1946. The first radar contact with the moon was made, according to this website. 1946. That just seems so long ago, doesn't it? Woo. Okay, maiden flight of the first flying boat. January 10th, 1912. Glenn Curtis flies the first flying boat, a pusher with a Conrad surface. Oh, so it sort of skimmed the surface as opposed to being submerged. So that was 1912. We got our first hydro boat. First subway opens in London, January 10th, 1863. The world's first underground subway service opened in London, the Metropolitan line between Pentagon and Farringdon. Yeah, Farringdon. Approximately 40,000 Londoners ride the trains the first day. 1863. Wow. Okay. Are you ready for this? January 9th, 2009. Bitcoin was launched. Okay. Uh, Pardon me. Through a posting to the cryptography mailing list. They released the first version of the Bitcoin software and launched a network of decentralized peer-to-peer cryptocurrency. 6 days later, they had generated the first block of 50 Bitcoins, now known as the Genesis block. Bitcoin has slowly but steadily gained momentum as its users appreciate the fact that no one entity can control, manipulate, or deactivate the digital currency, along with it being an extremely private form of payment. Bitcoin has the potential to become the currency of the future, which means it could completely change the way our society functions, excuse me, in regards to money, government, and the economy, which basically means it could change almost anything about the way the world works, Not bad for some open source coding. Apple, not just for computers anymore. As of January 9th, 2007, after introducing the iPhone, Steve Jobs announces the Apple Computer Inc. has dropped the computer from its official name and will now be known simply as Apple Inc. The move is to signify that Apple has expanded their scope of products from what have been traditionally defined as computers. Still, old habits die hard, and many people continue to add the computer as part of the name when talking about Apple. There's a lot of Apple news today. January 9th, 2007. Oh, okay, I guess because they were having their. Okay, got you. Apple introduces the iPhone at Macworld. The the phone wasn't available for sale until June 29th, prompting one of the most heavily anticipated sales launches in the history of technology. Apple sold 1.4 million phones in 2007, steadily increasing each year to sell over 230 million in 2015 alone. Oh, I know. How you doing, Pat? Pat's student in here from North Carolina. Good to see you. Apple introduces iTunes on January 9th. We're going to close with this one because there seems to be a lot of this day in tech news. Okay. Steve Jobs introduces iTunes at Macworld. At the time, it only ran on Macintosh computers, and there was no such thing as an iPod or an iTunes store. I don't think anyone at the time knew what a big deal iTunes was about to become. The graphic shows the evolution of iTunes from top left to top right. And I think I can get this up on the screen to show you how they went through a number of icons. Can you sort of see those? Yeah. So anyway, you can check that out. And I think I've got something that is not related to Apple. Okay. First motion picture to receive copyright. January 9th, 1894. Okay. W.K. Dixon, an employee of Thomas Edison's movie studio, receives a copyright for a motion picture film. The 5-second demonstration was a 47-frame film showing a man sneezing. The man, Fred Ott, is now most famously known for having this sneeze recorded on film. Fred Ott's sneeze is the earliest surviving film to receive copyright in the United States. While technically a copyright for a film had been granted to Edison Studio in the previous year, the records for what film it was have been lost. So with that, we know that as of 1894, we had video. And that's something to look forward to since we're coming to you by video right now. Wow. That's amazing. Well, there's a lot of tech in the news today, Fran. And one of the things that I wanted to share with our Pat is sneezing. I feel you, Pat. One of the things I wanted to share with our viewers is the fact that the Consumer Electronics Show just happened for 2020, and I'm going to share some video from that, and we're going to discuss some of the different things that are coming for the future. Will that work? Okay, with that, we're going to start this screen share. Just a second. Okay. Okay. It's telling me, this is going to be interesting. Okay, I'm going to go again. Oh, I guess this is what I want to do. There it is. It helps when you push the right buttons, guys. So here we are. We are at the Consumer Electronics event. They're asking us to subscribe to their channel. Oh, no sound? Huh. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's see. Let's skip this ad. Hmm. Okay. 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 What I was trying to get to was the fact that the Consumer Electronics show always has these fabulous things going on. They actually had a TV, Patricia, that went up the wall, came up the ceiling, down the wall, and took a ripple so that when you looked at the waterfall, it actually felt like the waterfall was in sections and coming towards you. There are some phenomenal things going on at this Consumer Electronics event. And I'm so sorry that I didn't share it in a way where you could hear the actual video. But what I do want to do is encourage you to go over to YouTube and look at some of the things that they have coming for the future. They showed a foldable phone, and the guy was explaining that the phone, he didn't like the phone because it had almost like a plastic accordion going between the two screens in the back. He said it felt cheap because of the plastic versus, most of our devices have hinges. And because of that, they felt like, this is not working. And we've got Dr. Tachi in here today. How you doing, Dr. Tachi?
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. And you?
I'm good. I'm back.
Happy New Year. How was your trip? I hope it was successful and fruitful.
It was quite good, quite good. Yes.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. We were just talking a little bit about the Consumer Electronics show that just took place and some of the different things that I had seen over here on YouTube that were
Yes.
coming that are coming out. And there's so much over there about how to make your house smart. Oh my goodness. I was just overwhelmed. They were showing things like what do you call it? Door locks, electronic door locks.
Yes.
And one of the things that has improved is the battery life just used to only last about 30 days. Now they've got it up to 6 months. So you don't have to keep charging it to make it function every, what I would call 15 seconds, sort of like my Ring doorbell. I feel like I'm always charging that, which means I have to take it apart.
Right, exactly, which defeats the purpose of a smart home if you're still then using antiquated technology to and that's one thing that one day what I want CES to do is feature batteries that actually last for an extended period of time. It makes no sense that we're now in 2020 and we're still dealing with this same battery issue of things. You have all this wonderful technology. Does it matter if it can't run?
If you got to take it apart and charge everything.
Right.
One of the things I did see on the show was the fact that they do have a pad where you can charge multiple devices.
Yes, I
Um,
think I saw that.
yes, and the little thing pops up so you can put your watch on there, and you can put your phone on there, and you can actually charge your tablet all at the same time on one device. And then you can put it in your purse and use it for a battery pack. So wherever you are, you can then charge your laptop or whatever you got going on, and you don't have to freak out that you don't have enough cords. You know,
There,
cord for every device.
there is, but again, I always look at the other end of things. It's like, what, what effect are all those things having on our health? Because, those things, there's obviously some radiation that's coming off of that, even if it's small levels, over extended periods of exposures. It's going to be interesting to see what effect, if any, that has health wise.
Okay, let me say this about that, and then I'm going to put up Patricia's comment. Um, our parents used to freak out when we used to sleep with our transistor radios.
That's
You'll
true.
be all right. You'll be all right. It's just a radio signal. Okay.
I guess, but our transistor radios used far less radio frequencies and such, I think, than some of these devices today. So interesting. We'll
And
see.
they're going from room to room. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're controlling the lights. We're controlling the garage opener. We're controlling, I don't know, music and computers, and everybody's got a computer and multiple televisions and monitors. I see what you're saying. There's a lot more going simultaneously, and
Hmm.
they're all operating on signals. Let me put this up. Patricia says, after accidentally unlocking other people's cars with my rental car's remote, I'm not sure I'm ready for smart locks for my home.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. We've had all these these incidences of or incident yeah incidences of hacking and things like that, and just even if not intentional, accidental. So yeah, I'm not feeling. I have a key, works
Mhm.
great. I'm good with that.
You go with that right now.
I'm good with the key. No problem.
Listen, I remember there was a concern that people were able to open garage doors. And most garage doors then lead from the garage into the house, and a lot of people don't lock that door. So
Right.
they had what would you call them? Professionals going around looking for entry into your home by just running through the neighborhood, pressing a remote to see whose garage door would go up. So yeah, so there's always something to be improved with
Yeah.
progress.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everything is up in a perpetual beta stage, if you
Hmm.
will. And so I think it's just a question of improving the technology and improving the security in such technology. So and it will happen. And guess what? There have been thieves from the beginning of time, to your
There,
point. So somebody who is really intent on doing evil and stealing will find any way necessary. Although I always say, wow, if you use that energy, you could be a millionaire by now if you use your power for good.
isn't that the truth?
Because that's a
Use
lot of, not only do you have to figure out how to get into something that you don't own, you also
mhm.
have to watch your back because people are going to be looking for what kind of life is that? So
Well, I want you to know that there are some really nice gadgets coming out, and they have some interesting home robots, which I was like, okay, this is interesting. It started in Japan, but now it's coming to the United States, and I wonder how we're going to use those things to function in our home. The the other thing is that they showed a this machine that they've been working on over 7 generations that plays ping pong through artificial
yes.
intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I can hear you now saying, is this going to replace everybody at the factory? No, people, this is to enhance. I think people felt the same way about manufacturing when we went from an agricultural stage to an industrial stage. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, there aren't going to be any more jobs. Nobody's going to be sitting around knitting sweaters. Da, da, da. We'll be okay. We'll just adapt, and there'll be other jobs.
Well, and that's the thing. This is always with every new piece of technology. There have been
Hmm.
criticisms levied at them, but especially now when you have things like AI, as you mentioned, and you
Hmm.
have machines that can actually safely do things that humans were doing before and don't necessarily need sleep. Um, I think this is a concern for many
Hmm.
people because we've seen it in banking, with the banking robots and those types of things. So I think it is a concern for some people, but here's the thing. Just like competition forces you to improve and up your game,
Mm.
that's the way you have to think about this with robots. Yeah, they very well could, take over certain functions that humans do now, and
Hmm.
more, less for less expense. But then that means you need to up your game. Why are you content with being where you are? You shouldn't be. That's just all right. I have to up my game. I have to adapt. So instead, the time you're using to complain about
Hmm.
how these bots are taking over the world is the same time you could be using to study and enhance and take extra professional development courses to get you to the next level. Shut up. I'm sorry to say it like that, but shut up.
And look at it and identify where's the gap. What's the problem that people keep? What's the thing people keep complaining about? And find a way to fix it so that you can provide that service. So now you are, there's an integration of,
I'm
machine
sorry.
and man. Not a
Yeah,
problem.
absolutely. I forgot. My
And
phone is
you want to
and
go handle that?
over it's way over there. So I'm not
Okay.
gonna get up.
Okay. No, not a problem. You know, and Francine says this. Uh, I hope the robot is not a creepy cat from a while back because they had this sort of virtual friend, and it was very popular in Japan, and it looked like Felix the cat. But the deal
Yes.
was, everywhere you went, the eyes followed you, and it was real creepy. Ah,
No, exactly, exactly. It's and with these things now, it's even more evolved because we're talking about AI. So what happens with AI, as we know, is that it learns. It's called machine learning. So upon repeated tries of doing something, for example, not necessarily wrong, but not in the way you intend, it learns and then it corrects itself. Just like with
ah,
the smart home, you're going in, and eventually some of these smart home devices learn what you like. So if you consistently put your heat at 70 something degrees,
mm-hmm.
after a while it learns and it comes in and it's at 70 something degrees because you've taught it that. So that's why they're smart, because they can actually quote learn. um
Ah,
this then again, I'm really interested in this whole the AI thing and the Internet of Things. I'm really interested in this, and I'm also interested in these in ethics when it comes
mm,
robotics and ethics, because they did, if you see, what is it? The sex industry and porn industry made another resurgence at CES this year.
oh
Um,
yeah, oh
yeah.
yeah.
So part of this, and we've been having these kinds of things. So it wasn't necessarily robots, but there are robots exist for that type of thing. And if you've ever watched Westworld, there's that whole thing of AI and androids or robots and them learning and remembering the things that have happened to. So there's this whole thing that could actually happen. And so there, do you then actually have to, if you have a robot that is there for your pleasure, do you
Uh-huh.
actually have to have the robot consent because they're learning
Oh
and in
my
a way
god.
they're thinking? So there's this whole thing with
Stop
consent. It's a real argument.
it. Oh my gosh.
Yes. So
So then, but see, if it has to give consent, then you're saying that the robot has a mind, will, and emotions.
those emotions can be learned if you're programming a robot with those types of things, with empathy and sympathy. It's not necessarily a natural thing, but you've done it, and then over time it learns that this is something good, this is something bad. So we're all, when you're watching
So,
Westworld and these
but
androids are starting to remember, it's go ahead.
wait a minute. So then, now you're saying that we have to program it to be willing to participate. Can we
Or
program it to always be willing?
well, then is that ethical? That's where this comes in. If it can think and feel, in quotes, and those types of things, is it ethical for me to program or
To
brainwash
override.
to override that choice? Right? If you're teaching it to do this, is
Stop
it then
it.
ethical for me to do that? So it's fascinating. This whole thing of robotics and ethics is actually fascinating. We're not ethical beings half the time with ourselves. So, not to talk of machines.
Okay, so if Harvey Weinstein is programming the machine, you might have an issue.
Exactly. Or, Harvey Weinstein type individuals, or individuals that, yeah, but it's just the thing of, I keep going back to Westworld, and it's not, I don't have HBO and I refuse to pay for it,
my
but
question to you is: so can the machine take me to court?
okay, well then here we go. We then are then talking about a whole other thing, a whole other section of the law in terms of rights, and then we're arguing: do these machines have rights?
Exactly.
So that's a whole other argument.
Oh my goodness. Okay, wait a minute. Let me see. Let me see what Donald says. Google sent me a free Google Home device, and I'm not too happy about it listening in all the time. So I unplugged it and just plugged it in when I'm working. Okay, that makes sense. Now, see, let me say this. My granddaughter got a book, and it came with a Google Mini
Really?
to read the book to her. Yes, it's sitting right here. Let's see. You see right here? I didn't
Oh.
have a device in my home, and it's actually on. I don't even know how to work it because I haven't played with it. But yeah. So
Oh, you
so
are a hacker's dream.
so the generation of being used to something listening in from infancy, because she's never known the world without the internet. She's 5.
Right. Right. She's
Okay, and
always had technology.
okay, and so now the book reads. I'm like, wait a minute, what? I said what? And now I've got this device in my house, and I am with Donald. I think I need to go over there and unplug that bad boy, Donald. Thank you for your comment.
When you wanted to read to her, go ahead and do that, but unplug otherwise. And
And
so and so go ahead,
you know
sorry.
who set it up?
Who did?
Her 13-year-old brother. He says, "Oh yeah, give me
Wow.
that. I know how to use that." I'm like, "What?"
Wow.
So I wasn't even home when they set it up. I came home. He had set it up, and she used it, and it was all good.
Wow. You know, the thing is, I think all of this is actually beautiful. I
Uh
love
huh.
the fact of a connected home, a home that makes things easier because, we also have to think about the fact those people that have disabilities, these types
Mhm.
of things make it so much easier for them to be in this world that is very geared towards people that are quote able-bodied. So I
Mhm.
think it's great. The problem is there are always those individuals who want to use it for wrong. And that's where we start to think. And I think we're overly sensitive because we're living in this age of a lack of privacy. So every new thing that comes out that has to deal with listening in or giving information, we're hypersensitive to, but we still give it.
Okay, so I'm gonna flip this. So maybe we're not in a thing where there's a lack of privacy. Maybe we're in a world where there is just a little too much sharing.
Okay, that is a valid point. That is a very valid point. Very valid point. Well, and so going to this, there's a thing in psychology, and you probably know this called the norm of reciprocity, and
Mhm.
that's that thing, that feeling where we feel we have to share. Right? Somebody tells us something, and we feel like we have to share
We
back.
gotta. Well, let me
Mhm.
give you no. Well, I'm going to tell
Exactly.
you two things. No is a complete sentence, and everything
Yes.
is not for you to fix. You don't have to share everything in your life.
Sure. Don't. Sure. Don't.
Please stop, people. For one thing, we don't want to know everything. Here, let me see what Donald's saying over here because I don't think you can see his comments. That's the same thing that he got in the mail, that little Google thing that I showed you,
Yes.
that mini. And
Yes.
then Nora says, I saw a presentation about artificial intelligence and the elderly. It was something to think about because artificial intelligence was someone or thing to combat loneliness for those who live alone, somewhat isolated. Absolutely. Not only that, how many people have seen that commercial where he tells the A person to play the song that his grandson just
Yeah.
left the room. What was it?
That was for
He for Alexa, but I don't
Alex
want. Yeah, I
for
don't want to turn
right,
people's things on.
right.
So for the A device, uh,
For,
and he tells it to play the stuff, and he's elderly allegedly, and in his home, and
yes.
the grandson thinks he's not techie, but so the grandfather leaves, as soon as the grandson leaves, he's talking to the device and
Yes.
giving it instructions, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I agree that it is a way to combat loneliness. The other thing is we know that some conditions like um, that have to do with the brain, that the one thing most people remember is music. So you could
Mhm.
have it play familiar music to help bring back and restore the memory. But the memory of the just as blessed. Yes. So I can see where it would be beneficial to continue to develop artificial intelligence. They showed stoves with readouts, not just the light, but when it lit up, then it had a panel in the on the outside uh, that you could select. It gave you the recipe. It told you how long it should cook. Da 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 da. So it was a
Mm,
readout
okay.
within the glass, which was
Mm,
interesting in the microwave.
in the microwave. Right, right.
Now
Wow.
here's the deal. You know how many men like to grill? They
Yes.
they now have a readout on grills to show you what's going on with the different meats on the grill, how long they should be in there, should they be wrapped? All of I'm just saying, it's going to get interesting. What kind, depending on what kind of charcoal or wood or whatever you're using. And
So I'm sorry.
go ahead.
That two things to that. It is a
Hmm.
neat thing because that's a democratization of grilling. So
Hmm.
basically, anyone can grill.
Oh,
If
you
you're
mean they might let women up to the grill? No, go ahead.
well, okay, I we grew up grilling because that's what, my me, my mother, and my sister. So we ended up my father lived in Nigeria, so we were grilling. So I grew up, that was my job. So I never knew anything different, but I meant in
Hmm.
terms of anybody being able to do, some people don't are not cooks necessarily. Some people don't know how to grill. So the
Yes.
fact that it's telling you, okay, this is the right temperature, this is what's going on with this is what's happening this on this zone, it kind of gives you insight so that you feel as if you can cook. It demystifies it, I think.
And
So
you can see the food on your app, so you don't have to lift the stuff.
now that's just damn lazy.
So you can see the what's going on inside the grill. I don't know how they do that. I don't know with all that temperature going on. I don't know what's going on. But anyway,
I think it's a neat thing, but I also think that kind of dulls your grilling chops if you constantly have to rely on a device. Because then, when you get to someplace where they don't have all of that, do you
hmm,
know how to monitor when the meat is actually done to your specifications? Do we know the chicken is not raw anymore? I mean,
I don't know, girl. I'm just saying. Now here's another thing, and then we're going to get to media, and that
okay.
is that they had devices for animals. They had a litter box that
Mm,
that self cleans and bags it, and all you do is have to do is take the bag out. I
wow.
like that.
I like
I,
I like that too. I like
I
that
like it,
too.
and it deodorizes. So it's very clean, and it looks. I like the form factor. It's very slick, looks very modern. And then for the for the feeding, they had one where you could see the animals eating. You can talk to them because there's a speaker in the feeder. And then they had a water bowl, a water tank where the.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And that's a big thing. The pets
Mhm.
section, all the pet technology was a huge thing as well because pets are a very large part of our lives. And so we try, there's always been this thing to try and make pets more comfortable. So this is a
Oh,
growing category at CES, the pet technology.
well, I liked the look of this. I think it's called a cuddle something, cuddle pet or something. But I liked the things that they came up with. They were very. Ooh, I just like the look of them. They were clean. I like clean stuff. Just minimal lines. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely, that's another thing with for some things, the design, has
yes.
gotten cleaner for many things. There were some things that they had a bunch of awardees from CES that came up, and some things were really clean. Like there was
Uh
this
huh.
Mercedes Benz Avatar themed car, which had
Mm.
it's very futuristic, but very somewhat clean lines, those types of things. But then You had some things like what was it? Also the bezel-less Samsung has a bezel-less display that won best monitor. So
Is that
no,
the one that had the ripple in it? I was talking about that earlier. It went up the ceiling, came down the wall, and then there was a ripple in it.
no. This
Okay.
is actually a monitor. It's actually like a TV. So just no
Oh,
bezels. So it's just a clean, very clean design. So you're just seeing screen basically.
oh, uh-huh.
Yes, no, not that one. That's the Samsung Odyssey
Ah,
G9. So, and they again, this is something that I had talked about before, but they had the TV that switches from horizontal 69 to vertical.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
We talked about that. That was interesting. Have
it
they
is
improved on it?
interesting. Yeah, we did talk about that. I think they made some minor improvements or whatever. I still don't think we're at that level.
The people, I still want to see the whole picture. I don't want to feel like I'm looking at it on my phone. You know what I mean?
Well, exactly. And when we talk about the people who view content on their phones, we're talking about younger generations like millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha, who are not watching TV necessarily. And so,
But
not
I
to the
think,
extent.
but I think they still like the look of the TV as a monitor, even though they're using it for gaming or for streaming, or
Hmm.
because they do stream. I think
Right.
they still like that size. That's why they buy monitors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like bigger monitors to game on.
Right, for those that are gamers, that's really.
Yeah.
But gaming is still. I don't want to say it's a niche, but it's not as widespread. So we can't really say that all of these generations are gaming, not
No.
necessarily.
No.
So it's still a niche in a way.
Hmm. Hmm.
So oh, what I was going to say is, okay, so Lenovo has a ThinkPad, and so their foldable ThinkPad actually won an award at the CES, but it is bulky looking to me. So some of the technology was not as clean. It was more about function than it was about design. So
Mm. Well, they claimed that it was thinner, but thinner than what, huh?
exactly, thinner than what? I look
Yeah,
well, this Lenovo, I looked at it. It looks pretty damn bulky to me, but I guess there's
I
only.
haven't seen it in the in the store, but
Oh, yeah,
I was
yeah.
looking at it on the video, and it looked relatively thin. But like you said, if it's not functional, I don't want anything heavier. I want something
No,
lighter.
no. And I'm still not sold on foldable technology because, there were already the problems with Samsung's Fold that had come out. Because just quite simply, anything where you're folding the screen and there's a hinge, the more you fold, it's like a piece of paper. Keep folding it back and forth. Eventually, something breaks along that hinge.
Something's gonna
So
unhook. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm not sold on that. Give me two pieces that fold together. I'm okay with that.
Well, Donald says this: gimmicks don't last long. And what is this? I'm not sure what this means, Donald. Try the new iPro.
iPro. Oh, I
Yeah,
don't
he's
know,
up too,
Donald.
but I think he meant iPro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, he's right. Gimmicks don't last long.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. But sometimes, people like fad things because they're collectors. But for the general public, I'm with you, Donald. It comes and it goes, and it will sustain itself if it has value.
Yeah, that's
Hmm.
true.
Hmm.
That's very true. Anything only comes with the value that people place on it.
Here you go. So tell us what's going on in media.
So I have a couple of things in
Okay.
terms of the CES. Obviously, it's a consumer electronics show. So, but there
Hmm.
are some media related things that come out at
Oh,
CES as well. Right. So, the big media conference obviously is NAB, the National Association of Broadcasters, but there are some things, whether it's media technology or media, that people choose to make their announcements during CES. Why not? You've got over 100,000 people that are gathered in Vegas. What a time to do it. So, Peacock, as you know, I don't know if we talked about this before, but NBC Universal, well, Comcast NBC Universal, shall we say,
oh,
is
okay.
releasing a streaming service called Peacock, and
I
what
think we
they're
mentioned it, but we didn't get into it.
no,
Is
we didn't get into it. This is the reason now. Remember, the Office is being pulled from Netflix. Actually, it's already pulled from Netflix, right? And one of the reasons was because NBC Universal, at the time we didn't know the name, was getting ready to come up with their own streaming service, and Peacock
ah
is it. So Peacock, this was last month, I believe, the beginning of last month, that the details for Peacock kind of came out, or they
yeah.
announced that Peacock was coming out. So they're planning to actually give more details on January 16th. So
Oh,
next week,
okay.
yeah, next week we'll get some more, end of next week we'll get some more details. But an executive actually who was at CES, described
CBS. I know all these initials, girl.
oh, too many damn initials. Actually described the strategy behind this new streaming service as being comfort food for viewers. I found that to be very interesting because this kind of lets us know the direction that the programming that they pick up is going to go in, right?
Hmm.
So, The Office, as I said, they pulled that off of Netflix and it is now going to live on Peacock. Parks and Rec, Saturday Night Live. And what they're saying is they're going to focus on quality over quantity. So, when we say comfort food, SNL has been on for over 40 years at this point, right? And so
Hmm.
that's something that we're comfortable with. The Office is something that people, it has a huge following and people love it. Same thing with Parks and Rec. And so there's this whole menagerie of comfort of things, the shows that we know, shows that we're familiar with, that they're putting there. So I think that's how they're positioning this comfort food thing. I think it's brilliant. And here's another thing: if you notice in media, uh, we're in the age of the reboot. You already know that, but during tumultuous times, the things that take us away from
Ah,
the rubbish that's going on is what.
okay. Escapism, yes. Okay. So we
So
escape to the things we feel comfortable with.
feel
Is that
comfortable with, that we know, shows of old, reruns, replay, those types of things. So it kind of sits well with us. Oh, I remember when that was on. That was a good time. And they're trying to raise nostalgia
uh
in us.
to connect the emotions with okay.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason all of this works is because of emotion, right? So
Hmm.
I think this is what they're trying to tap into. If you think about, let me tell you one network I'm very connected to, which is actually, no, that's actually a ABC property, Me TV. I
Hmm.
love Me TV
Really?
because, oh my God, because I love Perry Mason. I love The Twilight Zone. I love Alfred Hitchcock Presents, Mannix, Canon. I love those old shows. I'm a huge old show and old movie buff. And so that's like comfort for me. When it comes to be 11 o'clock, I'm like, good night, I'm watching. So those types of networks raise nostalgia in us. But it doesn't have to be old
Hmm.
shows like that. It could be shows like again, The Office, Parks and Rec, etc. So they said, this is what the CEO said, that audiences crave our premium content. We don't want to serve them junk. They're serving comfort food, that macaroni and cheese. But what they did not do is reveal the pricing of Peacock. That is going to be the key factor between people who say, yes, I am going to subscribe to Peacock, yet another service, and those who say, what the hell do I need Peacock for? That price and content. Those are the two determining, actually, content number one, price number two. Because if you
Okay,
have the
here's
content, people will pay. Sorry, go ahead.
Here's my question. So then the things that we see now for free, we're not going to see anymore. They're going to be over in the vault under Peacock.
It depends. Um, all of this has to do with, so they didn't give a whole bunch of detail
Yeah.
into what their properties were, so
Hmm.
it's the same thing with like Disney Plus, right? If they don't own the distribution rights to certain things, then we're not going to see it, whether it's an NBC property or NBC Universal property or not. If you don't own the distribution rights and can't come to a deal, we may not see it. So it just really depends. And then there are some things they may choose to leave out there. I don't see why, but
You know what I mean? Like, why should I pay you anyway? Okay, so maybe I need to get my VCR out.
not the VCR.
I think I gave it away or recycled it or something. I gotta have to go. Wow. I guess I have to go find somebody who still sells them or something. I don't know. This is crazy.
It's the nature of where we are. It's the nature of where we are. So I thought that was very
Just as
interesting.
confused as I think they're just as confused as we are
They
about how
don't
this
know what
is
the
going to,
hell.
as to how this is going to work. You know what
They
I'm
don't
saying
know.
to you?
Absolutely.
I
They
I I,
are. Go ahead.
I don't think they know how to do. And the reason I say this is because I see this a lot with traditional companies. They
Hmm.
don't know how to tap into the whole social media thing or the whole streaming thing or just to deal with the digital age. They missed it. They didn't come in on the ground floor, and now they are trying to figure it out. And they're asking um, social scientists and um, marketing people to figure it out for them.
They're not hiring the right people. I'm not trying to say that the people are
Because
incompetent.
no, because the people that they're hiring are not familiar with this type of marketing or
Exactly.
this technology. They just don't get it. And if you don't participate in it, you probably don't. If you've never turned on a TV, you probably don't know how it works.
Exactly, exactly. I think that again, they're not hiring the right types of people. So
Uh-huh.
while there's a catch-22 with this,
Mhm. Mhm.
people that are baby boomers or whatever, while they may be most of the people that are heading some of these people, up some of these companies, some of these media companies, you've got the older end of really baby boomers, but then maybe the older end of Gen X in some
Mhm.
cases. Um, so Gen X, we tend to know a lot of these things, but then we may not be in those positions of authority to make
To
these
make the
decisions.
decision. Yeah.
Right. Usually it's the older people who don't know and who don't want to know. And instead of relinquishing power and letting somebody who does know do better for them to have the glory than to. And I'm not saying that that's a blanket case, but in some cases that's the thing. It would
Mhm.
be advantageous to really now the oldest millennials I think are just like 30 or 31.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
great. But some millennials have not been raised in a way where they're independent thinkers. And so it's very hard to have them, all right, well, let's do this. And even though we say, oh, they really know this technology, do they really? Or do they just really want to press a button and have it work? That's the case with, and again, blanket case, but according to the Center for Generational Kinetics, this is one of the studies that they've done in
Well,
terms of it.
I think that's a human thing. I don't want to know how the wires go through the wall. I want to be able to flip the switch and stuff comes on. I'm cool with that.
No, it is a human thing, but when we look at it generationally, there are a couple of
Uh-huh.
studies that show that okay, so Gen X, we're the generation that likes to understand how things work, and that's
Ah.
kind of because we had to. You had to know how to hook up a printer to your computer, otherwise you couldn't. You had to know. There was no we had to know. And
Mhm.
so that's why I was the first one to open up a computer and put in the sound. I loved that type of stuff. And not just because I'm a techie, but that's kind of the way we were socialized. In order for certain things to work, you had to kind of understand. It was very rudimentary. So, okay, at the beginning of our computing journey was
Mhm.
DOS, right? So you
Yes.
actually had to know the keystrokes and to make
Yeah.
something run slash run, you had to understand that. So that's kind of where we come from as Gen X. That's not everybody, but that's a lot of us. But then, so this next generation, the millennials, they didn't need that. Everything was already inherently
You
done.
just plugged it in.
So all they wanted to know is what button do I press to do, because I don't need to know all this because I don't have
Mhm.
to. So that's great, but it also becomes problematic when you're trying to understand why this is this and why, and all you know is how to push a button and not why pushing the button will make it work. If that makes any
Uh-huh.
sense. So that's a
Yes.
very general and blanket case, but I think for some in these generations, it does cover.
Curtis says, "Hey, ladies." He says,
Hey,
"Right. We had to know."
we had to know, and there's still that desire to know. I think
Mhm.
with some millennials, they don't desire to know. Even with some Gen X, you don't desire to know, but again, just using that blanket case, it's like, I don't want to know. I just want, but that doesn't bide well when I need you to understand something when it comes to behave consumer behavior, and you just know that they want it but you don't understand why.
Why? Yeah.
Or we've made things so damn comfortable for you in the workplace that is, I am sorry on behalf of, well, it's not really my fault. You're only one generation, a few years younger than me. But on behalf of whoever, I apologize that we made things so damn easy for you that now you don't quite know how to, you know,
Function?
function. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes. Well, somebody needs to know how to fix it.
Yeah.
And that's why they get the big bucks. It's like the plumber. Okay.
Exactly. But you also realize everybody is not meant to be a plumber or an electrician. This is why this division of labor exists, so that you can do
Specialist.
it. Right. Exactly. And that's okay. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with not knowing. That's maybe not your job because you don't want to become the master of none. You don't have to know everything. But when it was necessary, we did know certain things, if that makes any sense.
Well, the thing
So.
is that as it becomes necessary, we'll go back and we'll learn it.
Yeah, exactly,
you
exactly,
know, you know what I'm saying?
exactly,
Almost,
exactly.
because sometimes we just got to back up and get the expertise. So, is there something else coming up that we need to know about in the world of media?
Well, let me there was something else that I had in terms of, and this is nothing new, but it was a study that less than 3 months after release, Disney Plus has ranked second among shared passwords. So streaming passwords are shared by 80% of teens and young adults. Second, Disney Plus, it's not even a whole 6 months yet, and it's already second in terms of shared passwords.
Now, here's the deal. My grandson texted me, the 13-year-old.
Yeah.
I've been signed out of the Disney account. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, I didn't even think he was watching it because I got it for the 5-year-old and the 10-year-old.
Right.
And I guess he's playing games over in the arcade or something. I
Okay.
can't see
Okay.
what else he would be using it for. But I was shocked, and evidently it was a priority because he never communicates with me except verbally. I can just text.
Wow.
I'm like, say what?
He's just like, excuse me. In case you didn't know, I've been locked out. You're
Grammy,
like,
I'm
who's
locked
this?
out. So that was critical. This Disney thing is catching on because I signed them into the arcade also. So
Mm,
with Apple, and between the arcade and Disney, they really liked it.
wow. Well, again, you know my whole feeling on Disney Plus, but
Well, here's another feeling. 13. Shoot, I'm 64 and I watch Disney Plus. That's what my, that's Pat. Now.
You know what? That is, I think that's the beauty of this age. Even though, there was a study that came out that said consumers are overwhelmed by the amount of streaming choices, I think that's also the beauty of the age that we're in, that you don't have to be locked into a ridiculously priced cable package anymore. Although, if we're not careful, that's what's going to end up happening because we don't know how to deal with too much choice. So we just want somebody. Can you tell me what to watch? Some people are like that.
Well, I tell you what's annoying to me, and guys, if this is annoying to you, put a yes in the chat. The next season came out for one of my favorite shows, so I said, "Oh, I can go in there and I can binge watch this and be done." Girl, they gave us one episode, and we got to wait till next week to get the next. I said, "This is just like regular TV. What is
Well,
going on?"
okay, I'll tell you what's going on, and I think
Please.
you already know this. If we follow the Netflix model where things are bingeable, that only works insofar as you have enough content to keep people engaged and coming back. So if I
Mm-hmm.
give you the entire season at once and you sit and binge watch it in one weekend, then you're looking for what the next thing is. Well, oh, okay, well, we've got this. That works if you have it. What's happening with a lot of these other streaming networks, for example, a CBS All Access is so guilty of this, okay? So they release all their original programming at weekly, just like linear television does, weekly, because they don't have enough new original content to keep you on the hook and to keep you paying. So if your show is over, why the hell do I need to keep paying for this every month? I'll be
Exactly.
back. So they dole it out one at a time to keep you on the hook. So that, and then they do things like a season A and a season B. So that's the longer that I keep you paying for my service. They figured out this is something we have to try if we want to maintain money, because it's called churn. That whole concept of people, signing up for the free trial and then canceling it or signing it, it's called churn. And so they're all trying to avoid excessive churn. You're going to have
Mm.
some level of it because I'm guilty of doing that. They know with me they're going to get that. But to keep subscribers, they are doing it a little bit at a time so that you're there for at least the period of
the season.
right? Although people get around that by saying, well, I'll just wait till they upload all the
Exactly.
episodes and then binge watch. But then that's where that season A and season B thing comes in. So they do the season A and then they wait several months in between, and then they release the season B. So it's like, so they're trying all sorts of things to keep subscribers on the hook and not cancel subscriptions.
Wow. Preacher Kid says Disney's going to take a while before they really hit their stride. People want original content. And then Pat says people are feeling pressured and overwhelmed in general. I see 25-year-olds asking if it's too late to start DJing. Wow.
Hmm.
Wow.
I think so. I think there are a lot of things that compete for our time and energy. And companies know this. So at the end of the day, the ones who win are the ones who are able to keep our attention and to keep us engaged. So I think they're going to have to find other ways to also keep us engaged. So if it's not, with this kind of content, okay, how can we get into gaming? Is there a way we could do that? Is there a way we could, so they're going to have to start to diversify in order to keep us. First of all these people are late to the game in terms of streaming because Netflix has how many years over them? Now, that doesn't mean they've won.
No.
Okay, that doesn't mean they've won. They're still number one right now. But if Disney Plus continues to get proper, right now they don't have the level of properties to compete with a Netflix. They have more, but they don't have the level. Actually, no, they don't. They don't have more properties than Netflix has. But they could easily overtake them if they do the original content thing well. That's going to be key. Because you can't rely on, they have generations of kids in the the Disney Vault stuff. So that's good in terms of engaging kids.
Mhm.
But Netflix, remember, answered back because they got this whole thing with Nickelodeon now. So Netflix is on their toes because they're trying not to have all these streaming services overtake them. Really, people? I'm sorry.
Well,
Yeah, I'm
it's
going to
good
mute.
to know that somebody is trying to keep ahead of all of this because I really am hungry for content. And I love mysteries, and there's only so many that are available when you binge watch stuff. But anyway, so maybe I have to go back to me TV and go through the old stuff, and by then maybe they'll have some new stuff. So here's the deal. So maybe I need to unsubscribe, go over to MeTV, which is basically free,
Mm-hmm.
and consume that, and then come back in the spring.
Yeah, do that. See what's on, in your actually basically they tend to have the same stuff on at the same time, but see what's on in your area. And
Mhm.
between that Antenna TV, Grit, there are a bunch of these free Hub, a bunch of these free over the air networks that are really aimed at um, older uh, programming and
Content.
movies.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, older content. So check those out. Those could be really. And then if you have something like obviously a, a help me, a Roku or one of
A,
those set top boxes,
a
Fire
stream.
Stick.
Uh-huh.
hmm There are all these other channels as well. So Pluto, even though Pluto has been acquired, Pluto
Oh,
has
it has?
yeah, who and I was just talking about this yesterday. It was not Viacom. Um, I'll look that up right now, but they got acquired like what 2 months ago.
Really? I didn't know that.
hmm So Pluto has a whole. Oh yes, it is. I'm right. So Viacom actually did acquire Pluto, which is why you see the MTV, the VH1s, the Comedy Central. They're all on Pluto now.
Oh,
hmm
okay.
And they have a lot of these channels. So they have like a reality TV channel. They have all these different things. I think Bravo is not Viacom, but I think they're on there as well. So they've got tons of channels on Pluto, and they've got free live TV and then free on-demand TV. You've got Stir as well, which is another one. You've got Tubi. So there are all these free streaming networks that provide content as well.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, it's like, well, where's the impetus for me to pay for anything unless you're offering me something different than everyone else is?
So basically, we're going back to we're coming full circle to when you didn't have to pay for TV. Remember that?
Oh yeah, over the air TV was all they had, but was what was there. And we talked about this before, the fact that cable was not meant to bring you necessarily all this great content. That was meant to take broadcast signals out to rural areas. So it's just then that they figured, "Ooh, we can make money off of this."
Make it pay.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember it was free the first couple of years, and then it eventually became commercial. What can I tell you?
Like everything
Love you.
does. Oh, Patricia says, and I do this too. She says she watches classic Doctor Who on Pluto TV, and she was
Mhm.
wondering why they added so many Nickelodeon channels. That's right, because Nickelodeon is on there too, because Viacom acquired Pluto.
Oh,
hmm
okay. Wow. Well, I think Curtis did tell us he was talking. Remember, we were talking about what is iPoo? It is literally a cat litter box. So, yeah,
Oh yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. Donald said that the cat
Yeah.
litter box is
Hmm.
called
Hmm.
iPoo.
Yeah, it's called
Wow,
iPoo. Interesting. Well, hey, pets are vital.
they really are. They
They're
really
family
are.
members. So we
hmm
we love our pets. So with that, I don't have anything else I wanted to, really expound on except that I suggest that people go in and look at the YouTube reports on the Consumer Electronics Show. They're gonna find some interesting things, and I found it very educational when I was looking at it, because then eventually those videos came up about the smart house. I'm like, oh, maybe I need to do some stuff around here.
Well, God willing, I plan on being there next year to do some reporting from there.
Nice.
So yeah, that's something I've always wanted to do. But there's funding is finite when you're trying to do all of these types of things. And I generally, because I do the National Association of Broadcasters show,
Hmm.
most years, I'm like, all right, well, I'm already going to Vegas for this, so I'm not also going to go for that. But I'm hoping that I'll be able to do CES next year, in addition to some other things.
Well, we are looking forward to helping you with that.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. All righty then. There you go. Okay, guys, we just want to remind you, don't forget to go to the front of your own mind. We'll be here Monday with coffee, tea, thoughts, and conversations. And Dr. Tachi, we just are so glad that you had a safe trip and
Thank you.
a fruitful trip.
Thank
We
you.
love you. TJ was unable to be with us today, but she will be back Tuesday. And Fran was mobile today. So with that, that means I'm pushing buttons, which means anything is subject to happen right now. Oh Lord, help us. Okay. With that, we want to say, don't forget to go to the front of your own line, and we'll see you Monday. Bye bye.